Our guest today is really a true testament to the power of LinkedIn.
My story starts, when I was a little kid, I dreamed of getting into life insurance, like every little kid dreams of getting into life insurance. Well, everybody knows that they need to save money. They know, they need to spend less money than they earn, but they're not doing it. Why? Let's talk about the why.
People just aren't educated about this stuff. They don't know anything.
Chris, you probably dreamed of going into life insurance as well when you were a kid, right?
As knee high, Tony. Like, that's all I'm talking about. It's like, let's look at term insurance, guys. Like, let's talk about it.
All of us working together, why it's so important, so that the kids are learning and also the adults. We can't have one without the other.
What conversations are you having with your son about money right now, and what have you had up to this point? How's it shaped him? Give me your experience thus far.
Value and understanding, and that you have to buy stock in something that I believe has some value.
Warren Buffett hit his wealth stride in his 50s, right? Hit his wealth stride in his 50s, right? Most of us are trying to get there in our 30s and our 40s, right? Like, we're not even there yet. So just take your time, educate yourself, be like smart about these things, and you'll get to that place. But the education is the key. What's up, everybody? We are back. It is another Finance First show series, right? Whatever we're calling it. I don't even know what we're calling it. Finance First series.
Still figuring that out.
Yeah, we're still figuring it out. But
give us some feedback.
That's
Audience,
right.
What do you think we should call it?
Let us know, guys. What should we call the show? We already know Finance First, but is it a show? Is it a series? We might keep doing it. Yeah. But anyway, we're back. And we're excited to be back. Again, another guest here, Derrick and myself, just to fill you guys in again. For the month of April, Financial Literacy Month, we want to bring you the people and the resources and the tools that are available and that are out there to help educate your children, to help push this message of financial literacy and financial education, especially towards the youth. We have plenty of people that are doing it, like myself, for the adults, but we want to take this time out specifically here on LinkedIn and share the resources and tools for the youth, for the people that are coming up behind us. How do they get the information to get ahead financially, to change their financial situation? And so we're going to bring you the people that we know that are connected to us, that are doing great things out there. So we got another great guest here today. Derrick, I'll pass it off to you so you can intro him and we'll dive in.
All right, perfect, man. I'm so happy to be back. I feel like it's been such a long time since I've been on here with you.
Yeah,
so,
you missed two shows, bro.
I know. Yeah, something was missing, man. I'm glad to be back now. So I'm excited about our guest today. And our guest today is really a true testament to the power of LinkedIn, to be honest. Tony Steuer is our guest, and just a little bit of background. So Tony and I, we see each other's posts on LinkedIn, comment. We connected probably a couple years ago, and we were just following each other's growth and progress. And then finally we buckled down and were like, come on, we have to hop on a call together. We love what each other was doing. And from there, Tony is featured inside of my app Planet. We're going to work on some more projects coming up in the future, so keep an eye out for that. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce everyone to Tony Steuer. Welcome, Tony.
Welcome.
Hey, thanks, Chris and Derrick, for having me on. I'm excited to be joining you guys.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you. So I'll go ahead and get things started. And I'll keep it simple. So Tony, just kind of introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a little bit about your journey in life, your backstory, how you got here, what you're passionate about, and then we'll dig a little deeper into some of those topics.
All righty. Well, my story starts, when I was a little kid, I dreamed of getting into life insurance, like every little kid dreams of getting into life insurance.
Yeah. Big dreams.
Always got to start there. So, like most people, I went to college and I was a business major, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I kind of fell into insurance, as a lot of people do in the insurance business. And as I went through, I found out over the years that people didn't really understand what they were buying. And I started to get really interested in the analytical consulting side and, helping people to really understand what they bought. So I started working more, rather than on new customers, helping people manage their existing life insurance policies. And I started working with financial planners, and I started writing some articles. And that led me to writing a book and doing more education. And, and I discovered along the way that people within the financial services industry also don't understand the other financial products than the ones that they're focused on, and that they need help understanding what other people in the industry are doing. And so that I found that that was an interesting place to be able to help educate not only consumers, but other people in the industry on what's going on, so everybody can start to understand how different products and services work. And then I started concentrating more on financial wellness as I discovered that really, there's psychological things that hold people back from making certain financial decisions. And that just really started to interest me as, like, okay, well, everybody knows that they need to save money. They know, they need to spend less money than they earn, but they're not doing it. Why? Let's talk about the why. And so that's where I am right now. I'm just really focused on changing the way that we think about money, and how do we change the way that people think about money?
Tony, let me dive in. I love that. I love that because, again, this is us getting a chance to hear each other's stories and kind of what brings us here. But I am right there with you. I had the same exact insights starting in the insurance world, then diving in and really seeing people just aren't educated about this stuff. They don't know anything, right? And then knowing products that I offer that you go talk to an advisor, they don't understand that product. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. They're like, no, it does. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, I thought you were an advisor. Like, that's not how that product works. Like, here's how it works. So, man, that is the exact mission that I had in my heart of, like, we just need to start educating people about money, like, and thinking about it differently. And that's what's going to really get those results. So kudos to you for doing the work. It's great to hear other people on the path.
Definitely. And I'm sure, Chris, you probably dreamed of going into life insurance as well when you were a kid, right?
That's knee high, Tony. Like, that's all I would talk about. It's like, let's look at term insurance, guys. Like, let's talk about it. No, of course not.
And guys, I want to throw this
watch
question
Dr.
out.
J.
Go ahead, Derrick.
So I want to throw this question out to both of you guys, because listening to you speak, one of the things I picked up on is that you guys said that people didn't understand what they were buying. So there's that part. But then what is the root cause of that from your experience? So that's something that you kind of talked about, Tony, just now, the psychological aspect of things holding people back. What were some of the things that you've learned from your customers, and how did you help overcome some of those challenges?
Well, I think there's a number of layers to it. Is one, I think that there's oftentimes a mismatch between people knowing what they want and getting the products that they need. Is quite so often, and Chris, I'm sure you can identify with this, a company comes out with a hot new product and you're trying to figure out how to sell that product to your clients, rather than taking a look at it from the client need first and saying, okay, well, this is a client who, has a short-term need, or they have a longer-term need, but they're very conservative, and really trying to figure out what's going to satisfy the need for that client. And, as I mentioned, is why is somebody who is risk averse. You don't want to put them in a variable universal life policy. It has a lot of variability to it. They're going to want something like a whole life insurance policy where they can feel very secure about it. So that's where there's a mismatch. And plus, it's this, with all financial services and products, they're super complex, full of jargon that people don't understand. And, what I found, and Chris, you can probably identify with this, is people don't want to ask those questions, because they're embarrassed. Hey, I don't know what deductible is. Can you explain it to me? They don't really want to say that, and so that's part of what you find. And you're not trained in the insurance business to have that kind of conversation with people. You're trained to go out and sell product.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
That's a good point.
That's 1,000% true. And those are the things that get to the root of, like, I've asked this question to a lot of people, guys. I always say, who taught you money? Like, actually, like, who taught you? Like, if you recall, who sat down with you and said, this is what a deductible is. This is what a savings plan is. This is what a CD is. This is what a mutual fund is. Like, who actually has done that? And for most people, there's no one there. You might have heard it,
Mhm.
a coworker, you might have done your own research, but no one's actually kind of walked you through money in general. And
Great point.
so that's again, we're talking about this, and Tony, you and I come, addressing the adults and like, that side of things. But this starts as a child, like the messages we're hearing about money as a child that come from our parents, that come from the authorities around us, like that's shaping how we start to think about money. It just bleeds into our adult life, and we never go back and track it and be like, how do we learn that? Like, where did I get that money thought from?
Hmm.
Right. So that's why we're really
Mhm.
trying to talk to the children and like the youth, or even the parents of the youth. It's just like, hey, we got to understand that like this process starts early, right? We got to, now as adults, we have a lot of unlearning to do, right? Just to relearn the proper way. So why
Yeah,
not start them
unlearning.
off?
That's it.
Unlearning. Wow. And one of the things that you guys just mentioned, I picked up on three key terms. People want to feel secure. That's something that I picked up from what you just said. It's full of jargon, and they don't want to ask questions. So even for us, Chris, to piggyback off of what you're saying, that's something that we're trying to give the kids that we work with, the teens and the young adults, help them feel secure and take away that fear of learning about finances, make it easy and simple for them to understand, and then open it up so that they can feel comfortable asking those questions. And then we want them to go home and talk to their parents about it. That's why all of us working together, why it's so important, so that the kids are learning and also the adults. We can't have one without the other. So very, very good points, guys. Love it.
Absolutely.
And I love what you're doing, Derek, is, your approach is that you're educating the kids, but also through the kids, educating the parents at the
Exactly.
same time. And that's a great approach.
Yeah, we got to build up that the community. And so one of the next things I want to ask you, Tony. So you also mentioned the products. And so when I was looking at your webpage, one of the coolest things I saw was the Get Ready Toolkit. So can you kind of break down what the Get Ready Toolkit is and kind of share with our audience what it's all about?
Well, the Get Ready Toolkit was, I created it primarily to go along with my book, The Get Ready Planner, which is a way for people, I call it creating their financial first aid kit. So, organizing all of their finances is, just logging everything you have, seeing how everything starts to fit together. So the Get Ready Toolkit itself is a series of worksheets from the Get Ready Planner that help people inventory different things. Like there's one for, you name it, there's one for every type of financial service or product that I could think of. And then there's other ones where people can start to bring it together, to create a cash flow statement, which I like a little bit better than the word budgeting,
Mm,
um, and start to do some other things. But the other thing that I started to create with it is to have it work with a financial calendar, because the other thing I found is that people don't review parts of their financial lives. There's always something where they go, oh, I accountant was reviewing that, or I thought, I don't have an estate planning attorney. So, I created the calendar, which helps people go through all the areas of their financial life. So it works in tune with the financial calendar. So they're continuously going through everything over the course of a year to stay up to date, to change the beneficiary on that 401k plan from their ex-wife when they get divorced, all that stuff that kind of just sort of gets missed because, there's so many big issues that we're looking at. So, that's the idea behind it, that everything in the toolkit is free. I want to give away as much stuff as I can. My goal is to educate people, which is why, it's always great to meet guys like both of you, who are trying to help people.
Yeah.
yes,
You know,
sir.
That's
Yes, sir.
awesome. That's awesome, Tony. That toolkit sounds so necessary and so needed, because you're 100% right. People don't look at their financial life as frequently as they should. They don't look at all parts of their financial life as frequently as they should. Us being in the industry, or right, talking about money, we might have a little bit better habits on that. But in general, everybody could use time looking at their money and planning it out a bit more, right? It's important. So those are resources. If everyone that's listening hears these resources, I implore you, go check it out. If you need help in the financial world and your financial life, there are resources out there that are going to help you get organized. And it sounds like Tony's got one with that toolkit. So reach out, find it, use it to help.
Yes, definitely love the toolkit, Tony. I thought that was great. And looking at the calendar, like you said, each month you give like some key things that everyone needs to focus on. Just like with taxes, I noticed that you put that there at that certain time of the year. Make sure you're doing certain things so that you're prepared for what's coming. And so I hope everyone takes the opportunity to go and check it out. We'll share where you can find that at towards the end of the show, but make sure you take a look at it because it's very, very helpful and beneficial. And so, Tony, you mentioned that you authored some books. And so that's something else that I wanted you to share with the audience. Talk to us about these books and what's in them. How can they help our listeners grow their financial knowledge?
Well, thanks, Derrick, and appreciate your kind words about the toolkit. So I've got a couple different kinds of books. My first book is questions and answers on life insurance, and it came from my career in the life insurance business, and I just wanted to put out a reference book on life insurance that wasn't about selling somebody life insurance. If you go to Amazon and you check out the top books in the life insurance category, they're all about how to get rich with life insurance, or what the rich people know about life insurance that you don't know. And so I just wanted something where somebody could look at it and say, okay, well, this is something I can learn about life insurance. And because it was my area, that was my first book. Then I wrote a book, Insurance Made Easy, which is sort of about the other lines of coverage. So because there's really not much out there to help people on insurance. And then you know I ran into a situation where we didn't have our finances organized, and my mother passed away, and I was executor on her estate, and we're trying to figure everything out. And she just had lists of paper of accounts. I mean, it was just very random stuff. And I'm like, there needs to be a better way to do it. And there were a few other books out there on getting your financial documents together, but they're great books, but they're written by attorneys, and they're very dry, very super thorough, great books, but they weren't written, again, in language that I feel that everyday people could relate to, with the words that we use in everyday life. And so that's where I created that. And then the financial calendar, the monthly personal finance guidebook, was just, I felt the financial calendar needed to be out there in a published form. So that's kind of an evolution on my books.
Man, good stuff, man. I love that. And so I love how you break down and make everything easier to understand because that's where a lot of the fear comes in. I think that everyone's scared when it comes to learning about money because they think it's going to go over their head. But we need resources and tools like what you're providing to take the fear out of finance. That's super important. For the kids, they're all, they're usually excited to learn about these new things and they don't have those bad experiences with money. They just know what they go through with their parents. And so I love that your products try to break it down, make it easy to digest. And then, hey, even with our app, that's one of the things that's super important. We give them content on their level, our users, to make sure that they're learning what they need to learn so that it's not going over their head. So good stuff, man. Really
That's
love it.
huge. That's huge. And question to kind of switch gears a bit, because we're all parents in the room. What conversations, Tony, are you having? Because we talked a little offline. What conversations are you having with your son about money right now, and what have you had up to this point? How's it shaped him? Give me your experience thus far.
Well, that's a great question, and it's interesting timing because I get to plug my
Of
favorite
course.
book, by Benjamin Graham.
The Intelligent
Oh,
Investor.
yep, going way back.
Mm,
And because we were going to, we're doing college visits, as I mentioned to you, Chris. So Derrick, we were visiting colleges last week, and we went to
nice.
my old college, Chico State, and so he was asking me about what I learned in college, and I was a finance major, and I go, the one book I really remember is Benjamin Graham. And so we started talking a little bit about investing, but we talked about value and understanding, and that you have to buy stock in something that I believe has some value. you know, you know, the show isn't talking about Bitcoin or NFTs, but you know, I told him, I go, you know, you can do something like an NFT, but I go, what value does it really have? I go, you know, value comes from what somebody else will pay for it. So if you get a
Yeah.
share stock like in Disney, you know that somebody else is probably going to come along and buy it.
Yep.
And so we start talking about value and Mr. Market. You know, if he comes to his office and you know it rained on him on that day, you're smiling, Chris, because you
I
know.
remember. I remember.
Have you read that, Derrick? Benjamin Graham's book?
No, I actually haven't read that one. I'm gonna check that one out. That sounds very interesting.
It's a big one. It's a thick
Yeah,
one, but it's got a ton of knowledge, ton of
Okay,
info in there.
I love it. I'm gonna check that one out.
and there's a newer version that I would recommend that was edited in 2001. So it kind of, or 2006, it kind of brings up, because you know, it is slightly outdated, but you know, he mentored this guy, Warren Buffett, who's done pretty well for himself,
Huh?
you know, in the
Haven't heard of
markets.
Yeah, he's done
You
very well
know,
for himself.
yeah. So that, you know, that's what we're talking about. I told him about Mr. Market. You know, you know, if he has a bad day on his way to work, you know, it rains on him, you know, he gets splashed, you know, with a puddle, you know, then the markets are going to go down, and you don't know what kind of day Mr. Market's had until he gets to the office, and
Yep.
you know what kind of mood he's going to be in. And so, you know, if you're trying to time the market, you know, good luck,
Good
because
luck.
there's so many variables.
Yeah.
But what
Yeah.
I like about Benjamin Graham is that he brings it home. And I told, you know, my son about Warren Buffett, and what always surprises people about Warren Buffett is his core holdings are insurance companies. He's
Mm.
got a big reinsurance company. And, you know, for listeners out there who aren't familiar with reinsurance companies, those are insurance companies for insurance companies.
Right.
You know, so you talk
Okay.
about the boring of the boring, but the most solid of the solid business. And, you know, one of the Warren Buffett's big holdings are Coca-Cola, See's Candy,
Mhm.
railroads. You know, so you talk about, you know, really unexciting investments, but you know, you think about value, you
Yep.
know, and you know that there's value in a railroad. You know,
Yep.
the stuff is still going to need to get shipped. So those are the kind of conversations we've had. Is that I want him to really put thought into some of this stuff, and you know, to really think about value and to think about variability and start to understand risk in those concepts.
That's a good point. And we have to give them that mindset, right? Because it's crazy with social media and the meme stocks and everything that's with Dogecoin. And it's easy to want to hurry up and jump into those things and try to make some fast money. But you do have to go back to someone like Warren Buffett that just holds it and he just rides out the, you know, whether it goes up or down, he's holding on because eventually it's going to bring back value. And that's one of our biggest struggles with our students when we're teaching them about investing, because they want the money to be fast, but they have to realize it takes time to build up your portfolio to get that return on that investment. Because are you an investor, or are you a trader? You have to qualify and know which one
Mm-hmm.
you are, because there is a difference.
Absolutely.
100%.
I listen, I could go either way on this conversation, guys. I'm gonna give you both sides because I love the
Okay.
conversations. It's why I asked the question, Tony, because I get a chance to see both sides, us old fogies and how we think about money, and this
Hmm.
new generation and how they think
Yeah.
about money, right? Like
Yep.
it's money. And so it's thought about differently across generations. Our parents, grandparents thought about money differently than we think about it.
Yep.
That's actually what's happening with the youth. So the conversation you're having with your son, Tony, is a one that a lot of parents are having, because I don't even know what generation they are. What are they, Z now?
I think they're, yeah, I
I
think
think
they're
they're
Z. I
beyond
think
Z.
Are they
really.
beyond Z?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I don't know. Are they Z? I don't
I have
know.
I have
Yeah.
no idea. The under 25s here, whatever they are,
Yeah.
right? The,
Yeah.
the under 25s, they are seeing money being moved and exchanged in
Mhm.
a different manner, being attained in a different manner. Many of them have a friend or someone close to them or someone they saw on social or someone in their school that did hit it big in an NFT. They did hit it
Mm-hmm.
big in something, right? Like they're seeing these things and saying, okay, it might just be a matter of time before I can. And because now there's so many different ways to invest, they're testing everything. They're learning everything. They're seeing how to make it happen. For us, when we think of investing and we think of our models, that's why we have a Warren Buffett, is because that's what we saw. And that's how, again, I educate on both sides. I'm like, if for the people that want to just go full cryptocurrency and right NFT and that side, I'm like, hey, but here's what Warren Buffett says, right? If you're going to pick a stock, you got to know three things. You got to know the industry, right? You got to know how to read the financials, and you got to know the management team, right? You got to know those things. But over here, most people don't know any of those things. They're invest in tech and they've never looked at a tech. They don't know anything about technology. They don't know how to read a pro forma at all. They could care less who the CMO is or the CFO is, but they're still looking at how they're trading, investing, making money, whatever the case is. I think we have to, as educators, we have to be able to lean on both sides and say, you know what, to your son, there is a value in that NFT. The value is undetermined, but it's the same thing, right? It's like if you got a good underground band, I've heard this example before. I'll give it in my way, right? Imagine you were one of the first fans of the Beatles before they put out an album, before they did anything, right? And they dropped this thing and you were like, I'm one of the first 100 people that knew them. And that becomes like a collectible. And then the Beatles happen to turn out to be something. Now we know 99,000 other bands did not turn out to do anything in that same time period, but the Beatles did. So if you were lucky enough or smart enough to be early and get that collectible thing, that will be worth something down the line, right? And that's what all these kids are banking on, of like these NFTs. They just are guessing though. They're just like, I don't know. But it's the same thought process. Like, oh, if I get this early, I'm in early. If I could get in GM when it's early and ride it up for 25 years, I'm good. Same mindset. We think of it stock market. They look at it in cryptocurrencies, NFTs, Web3, that side. Same mindset, different vehicles of how we're using it. But I think it's important for us to educate.
100%. And I think that's where the diversification conversation comes in handy. Is, like I told my son, if you want to do, because he has a little investment account, where we put in any money he gets, from aunts, uncles, grandparents, that kind of stuff. Not a lot of money, but I go, if you want to put like 5% in crypto or NFTs or whatever, I go for it. I go, diversify. Now, here's the other counter argument with the new stuff is you say, remember when tulips were big in Holland in the 1600s and they were the latest thing? Right? But it goes to what you were saying about the Beatles is, you don't know what's going to hit a big, that's why, it's that principle of, being, spreading your money around, not putting all your eggs in one basket, and but you got to do it all.
Yeah. And I think where we're headed, students, younger people, their portfolio might be flipped. Right. Like even though we feel that's a more risky, right, variable side, they may have 90% in Web3, crypto, NFTs, and 10% in the stock market. Right. Because I'm having conversations with the 30-year-olds that are thinking about that 401k because they just transitioned job or something. They're like, now they're questioning, like, should I, like, is this going to be the best vehicle for me? And now they want the information. But, 15, 20 years ago, that was a given. It's like, oh, you got a 401k, it's in, right? You're putting money there. But now they're questioning. So, money is fluid.
And I'll say this too, Chris. In our app, we launched a crypto academy. When I say that's our most popular course that we have inside of there, man, as soon as we launched it, everyone was checking that one out because they want to know. And I'm glad, to be honest, that they want to know, because that means that they're interested in, Chris, you mentioned that a second ago, the mindset. Now the mindset is they're not just worried about whatever it is they were worried about before. Now they're seeing, even some of the rappers are talking about their investments in crypto and doing different things, and they're listening and they're hearing, okay, so I need to focus on this because this is where the money is at. And making sure that we're there early is also important. And like you said, we don't have to put all our eggs in one basket. We can diversify. So that's a great point. But make sure you get in early so then you can reap the benefits later down the road.
Absolutely.
So man, very good stuff.
1,000%. I'll add on that, right? Like just understanding that this whole thing is going to change for all the generations, right? Everything's going to change. It's just about us staying on top of it and keeping the open mind for our children, for the next generation. Like, okay, these are like some basic principles in finance. But then on top of those principles, you have all types of vehicles, all types of ways to get there, all types of investments. Like there's all types. So you just have to have, philosophy, principles. Good old Ray Dalio wrote the book Principles, right?
Got that one.
Yeah, business principles, but just in general, just having principles of like, this is what we're going to do, right? I always tell people, because there's a lot of that side that are like, well, cryptocurrency might not be anything, it's not going anywhere. I'll be like, great, you're going to train a whole generation of how unstable financial products are. I bet you they won't make that mistake moving forward. Like, what do you want? You know what I mean? Like, people are going to either lose money or they're going to make some, or it's all going to go to nothing. And then we're going to learn and be like, that wasn't smart. I'll look out for that, right? Next time. And now I'll go this way. But regardless, we just got to stay educated and talking about it, because it's just money. It's all going to change. It's all going to be different. Right, we're going to go into a cashless society at some point.
That's on it. Yeah, I agree. It's on its way. It's here.
So teaching our kids, the number one question I used to get when I would go speak to the youth is like, teach them how to like balance a checkbook and da. I was like, they're not going to balance a checkbook in their life, right? That they're not actually going to like write it down and do that. Nope. They're never going to do that. But I'll teach them if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is funny. Just on the checkbook is sort of related. Is my son's doing an internship and he had to mail something to somebody. And I never thought about it, but he's like, how do I do this? How do I mail something to somebody? What do I write on the envelope? Where do I put the stamp? And I hadn't thought about it. He's 17 years old.
Different times.
Wow.
Like these kids might never go to a post office.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason I go to the post office is for my grandma, because she wants stamps every once in a while. But outside of that, like, maybe to drop off like a package here and there, but like, I'm not going to the post office. So kids probably ain't ever going to a post office ever. Yep. So how will they learn? You know what I mean? How will they learn to mail something? That's crazy. Funny.
Yep. So before we go, Tony, I want to ask you. So you personally, what's some of the best financial advice someone's giving you, and who gave you that advice?
That's a great question. So I think the best financial advice I've ever gotten is that, take the time to make sure you understand something. Don't feel rushed. Don't worry about what somebody else is thinking. If something feels too good to be true, then it probably is too good to be true. That those super simple rules, if it doesn't pass the smell test, if you think something seems off, it's probably off. And like with anything else is, that you need to take the time to learn something. If you want to make a wise choice, like when I get new tires for my car, I don't know anything about different tires, for my car. So I asked the person who's working there, like, hey, what kind of tires do you have on your car? And I figure that's a pretty good indicator. And then I asked them why they have those tires. And so it's asking questions, learning, and figuring out how to put that information into action. But really do it in your own time. Do it with what you're comfortable with. As we were kind of joking around about crypto and everything else, is if that's what you understand, that's okay. But make sure you fully understand it before you get involved with it.
That's a great point.
Great advice.
Yes.
Glad someone taught you that. I'm trying to we're still trying to teach that to people these days, right, Tony? So that is a great kind of exclamation point, kind of place to put a period here, because that is the message. Yep. Before you go out and do anything, ladies and gentlemen, educate yourself fully. Take 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours, dive in, ask questions, get contradicting opinions, right? Always remember, wealth is built slowly. Warren Buffett, since we mentioned him, Warren Buffett hit his wealth stride in his 50s, right? Hit his wealth stride in his 50s. right? Most of us are trying to get there in our 30s and our 40s, right? Like we're not even there yet. So just take your time, educate yourself, be like smart about these things, and you'll get to that place. But the education is the key.
Education is the key. I agree.
Right.
100%.
All right.
Cool. Tony, we appreciate you, man. Where can the people find you? Is LinkedIn the best place to get in touch with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn's a great place to get in touch with me, or, as Derrick talked about, you can come to my website, tonysteuer.com, and download the Get Ready Toolkit. So, and thanks for having me on, guys. This is a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Thank you for joining us.
Love it. We appreciate you taking the time, and for everybody again in LinkedIn that's watching, that's listening. April is Financial Literacy Month. That's why we're taking the time out this month specifically to bring you people that are on the same mission, that are educating, that are trying to help you and the people get ahead financially. So use us as resources. Reach out. We're all here on LinkedIn. Send us a message. Engage, comment on something that we put out. We want to talk to you because at the end of the day, we're all heading down the same path of this financial empowerment, financial education movement. And we need your support. We need your support. So we appreciate you all tuning in. We will be back on Tuesday. We have Mac on Tuesday.
Mac on Tuesday.
We got to
throw it out there.
Mr. Mac Gardner.
We got Mac from four Money Bears. We've been plugging him. He's been doing amazing stuff. We've been seeing. We'll have him on Tuesday, and we'll get a chance to have a great conversation with him. But again, Tony, thanks for taking the time out. We appreciate you. And until next time, we're signing off. Take care, everybody.
Bye.